Welcome back to our studio in New York. You know, in 15 mostly wonderful seasons with Detroit and Pittsburgh, quarterback Bobby Layne lit up the sky, on and off the field. A commentator once said Layne broke almost every record set by Sammy Baugh while closing in on every record held by W.C. Fields. But Henry Ford II called Layne one of the most complex and sensitive men I've ever met. I couldn't understand how the man could play such a rough game. In Legends of the Game, Jack Whitaker visits the man who said his ambition was to run out of air and cash at the same time.
This is the hub of the plain, Lubbock, Texas, in the panhandle of the state where the summers are very hot and where in the winter, when the wind comes rushing down from the Rockies, it gets bitterly cold. They raise a rugged type of cotton here and a rugged type of football player. But of all the football players that come from this area, none was more rugged or more individualistic than Bobby Layne.
In the 1950s, the Detroit Lions ruled the National Football League, and quarterback Bobby Layne was their king. Number 22 generated the Lions to the first of 3 NFL championships in the 50s, and went on to shatter every team passing record, even though critics ridiculed his throwing style and said his passes whizzed out of the sky like boomerangs.
One time we lined up 11 quarterbacks in Los Angeles for a certain game or a certain TV commercial, and every man could throw it just as pretty, just as far. I could throw just as strong as Van Brockton, Unitas, and they could throw just as strong as I could. And there's more to being a quarterback than having a strong arm, or you can throw it end over end if you score a touchdown.
Layne was fearless, unafraid to put the ball up from anywhere on the field. And this 92-yard touchdown to Cloyce Box was one of the 118 he threw. However, touchdowns were not the measure of this man. The bottom line for Bobby Layne was winning.
I mean, I don't care if you're playing the nickel hearts or throwing horseshoes. I think you've got to want to win. I think there's some born losers. I really believe it.
The Lions were a rambunctious band of hellraisers who played by day and partied by night. But even among this colorful crew, the clear-cut leader was Bobby Layne.
I did do some things that I do regret now. As I always said, I went in the front door. I didn't sneak in the back door. It hurt my family some. That's the only thing. The publicity. Everybody knew me in Detroit, and I couldn't go anywhere without some conversation.
What do you tell today's young quarterbacks, people like Pat Hayden or Tommy Kramer or Phil Simms?
It's a politician's job, and you've got to have those people pulling for you, and you have to go out of your way off the field some to do some things that make a closely knit club. And believe me, if those boys don't want to block for you, you're in a world of trouble.
In the 1950s, as professional football made its inexorable climb up the ladder of American sports, Bobby Layne, here in Tiger Stadium and later in Forbes Field, personified the leader quarterback that's become such an integral part of the game. Since then, many have tried to emulate Bobby, and none have. And he remains not only a legend, but a rugged individualist who, in his own words, always went in the front door.
Bobby Layne, I think he was my first hero in professional football. He looks terrific, Herb.
He looks great, considering the fact he played practically all of his career without a face mask. Do you realize that?
He's a very successful real estate man now down in Lubbock, Texas. And let's send you back to the stadium and the game you're enjoying on CBS.